Hey everybody, and welcome to today's podcast where I'll be joined by one of our members, Dan Pitcher. Dan is a member in our Junction 6 gym at Castleknock, and he's going to be talking about his whole story, including his weight loss journey, coming out and talking about his sexuality and also mental health issues. So have a listen, I hope you enjoy it.
This is the Ger Conroy Fitness Podcast. For more, see gerconroy.ie.
Dan, how's it going? Welcome to the podcast. Thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Jared. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. I really do appreciate you giving your time for today. Dan, basically, I know it said in the intro that you're a member of the gym, and a lot of our members would know you. But before we kind of just get into things and you tell your story, and it's a very important story that you have to tell, and a lot of people will be able to relate to this as well. But basically, let me hear a little bit about yourself, and for the people who don't know you.
Well, I've been a local in the area sort of all my life. I'm up in Carpenterstown. As you said, I've been a member of the gym for an awful long time. I wear a number of different hats. You know, by trade, I'm a sports broadcaster. I used to broadcast up in Phoenix FM as well. I'm a coach. I'm a referee. You know, everything under the sun at the minute, and sort of struggling to figure out how I sort of manage to fit it all into life. But I somehow get there, which is So that's a little bit about me anyway.
Oh, very good. And do you love coaching, do you?
Yeah, I do. I started off my coaching career started off with rugby. Behind me is a school rugby jersey from Castleknock Community College.
Just admiring that there, yeah.
I was coaching up there for about, when I think about it, it was close to 5 years. I was up there. I was asked a number of years ago to sort of assist with rugby. I had gone to CCC, and very, very quickly that turned into me sort of becoming a kind of a director of rugby kind of role. So I was there for about 5 years before I took up as a job as a news broadcaster over in England. The lads on my last day signed a jersey and a ball for me. So that went straight into a frame where it's been hanging ever since. So,
that's a nice touch, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really nice. And then I'm sort of into football coaching now. I'm up in Corduff with a friend of mine. I had kind of been, I had been with St. Moctus for years, sort of helping out with their social media. And then just last year with COVID and everything else, I didn't know sort of where my next move in terms of being involved in sport. Like, I've always reported on sport, but my involvement in it has been sort of not as much to a degree. So a friend of mine came along. He had just joined up in Corduff, and they had offered him to take a team out of the academy up there straight into under eights. So he asked me would I be interested in helping him out. I said, yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
There was nothing else going on at the time, so I said, why not? So a couple of months later now, I'm heading for my PDP3 FAI course. Things have all come very quickly. So enjoying the football as well.
Good man, fair play to you. That's where I'm from as well, Corduff. So fair play to you, well done. And tell me, you decided to join the gym. Before we get to what happened when you joined the gym, tell me, why did you join the gym?
I suppose. Well, I joined the gym a couple of times. Back in my teen years, like I would have gone to like where you are in J6 was obviously Total Fitness before you. Yeah. All of those years ago. And I would have been a member up there. I did a little bit of kickboxing up there. Didn't really enjoy that. But when I discovered that you were going to be opening up there, I thought, oh, deadly, because it was always it's closer to me than Mulhuddard, and easier for me to have got to. So I was delighted that it opened up there. But yeah, I went because I was really badly overweight, and I needed to do something about it before other things like sort of health complications and everything like that really started kicking in. And like I said, I'd join, I'd go, and then I'd be sitting there going, will I go today? No, it's raining, I won't go. So, sort of days
And
like that.
yeah, the mind plays tricks with you, and you think of every excuse not to go to the
Yeah,
gym, because everybody has done
exactly.
it. Everybody has, and that's
Yeah,
normal as well.
yeah.
But you ended up finding a time and a time and a place, and you weren't just, you were physically ready and mentally ready to take on that challenge of weight loss.
Yeah, I was, because I was only thinking about it earlier. Like, my problem with weight has for years kind of been linked in with issues around mental health.
Okay.
And I find that the two of them sort of really overlapped each other, So
Yeah.
when my head wasn't right, I was comfort eating myself out of situations, and, eating and eating and eating without doing much exercise. And then, that caused its own problems.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like I remember finding myself, like, I quite enjoy, like, buying rugby jerseys. Would be, one of the main, like, if I go into Lifestyle or somewhere like that, I'd go straight to the rugby section.
Yeah.
And I was finding myself looking for the biggest size possible, because, an XL didn't do it, an XXL didn't do it. And I was looking, going, oh Jesus, you really kind of have to do something about this. Because, not only did Lifestyle or Elvery's not have, things that I could wear, but nowhere really did.
And what weight
And
were you at that stage?
too big. I can't remember what I started. It was. I'll be honest. It was close to 19 or 20
Yeah.
stone, and it was really, really desperate. And like, there was a point, and I go back to where I was coaching in CCC. There was a point in time where I was kind of assisting the head of the PE department as well when I was up there. So I'd be preparing my sessions, and when I was done, if there was time, I'd go and I'd help him out with PE. And I remember being outdoors. There was a group of 6 years wanting to do tag rugby. So I facilitated that, and he facilitated something else. And occasionally, sort of, I would jump in and throw the odd pass, or whatever.
Get involved.
And at the end, yeah, exactly. And at the end of the session, I remember going up to him, and he looked at me sideways, and I was kind of like, what's he looking at? And he says, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So fine. He says, like, you didn't take a knock, like, it's only tag rugby. I said, no. I said, none of that. And I'm kind of looking at it, because he's looking directly into my eyes.
What's he talking about?
And I'm like, yeah, like, what are you getting at here? Like, it was lashing rain, so I kind of felt a bit minging. I felt a bit kind of clammy, and whatever. And he's looking at me, and he's going, "All right, would you go into my office there and just sit down for a while?" And I'm going, Jesus, what's this all about? And he walks in anyway, and he takes my arm to try and take a pulse read. And I'm seriously there going,
what's he doing? You didn't know
what's
what was
going
happening
on
here.
I hadn't a clue. So anyway, so he's saying, and you're sure, like, you mean, if you were unwell, or if you were sort of, if things weren't right, you'd tell me. I said, yeah. Now, this guy was a paramedic.
Yeah.
And I had to, like, he's known me for years and years. He was one of my PE teachers when I was in the school. So he was taking all of these readings and stuff. And then I remember coming back the next time, and he sits me down, and he says, "Listen," I said, I need to tell you what's going on," because he said it was keeping him up at night. And he looked at me, and he said, "When you walked off the grass that time, and I was looking at you, if I had come across," he said, if he was being called out somewhere on an emergency, and he had come across me, he would have been 100% certain that I was having a heart attack."
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, "I was displaying in my face was white. I was panting, like, really, really badly, struggling for breath, walking gingerly. He said that I had, the signs and symptoms of somebody who was about to have a massive problem."
And it might not make sense to some people. Why did you not realize this? Why did you not feel or see the signs or symptoms, But sometimes, well, I suppose, were you kind of used to that, and you kind of got used to feeling like that? And was there a reason you didn't see the signs and
Perhaps
feel the symptoms?
perhaps like, because as well at the same time, like I was rugby, I was refereeing rugby, with Leinster Rugby. And you know, I never really looked great in the kit, but I was always able. I was always able to complete a match. I was never able to like, you know, you'd kind of feel it and go, Jesus, there's only 10 minutes now, right? Come on, let's get this 10 minutes over and done with. And you know, like I'd be sitting there in the dressing room afterwards thinking, Jesus, I'm fecked.
Yeah.
But like never to a degree where like I wasn't able to sort of get up and get around. Like, you know, I was always able to go and do sort of my warm down and stuff like that. And anybody who knows the intensity that rugby's played at, it's not an easy sport to referee. Like you have to be there and there, like instantly. I didn't notice, like, you know, it was never something I had taken notice of, really.
And when he said this to you, then was that kind of a turning point for you when you said, okay, I really got to focus now on this weight loss journey of mine? Is that kind of what happened?
Massively. Like I remember walking into the school, I had a cup of coffee in one hand and a chocolate croissant in the other. And he was telling me this, and the croissant very quickly went to the bin.
Yes.
And the coffee went down. I said, right. I said, I'll go with water today.
And how old were you at that stage as well, Dan?
So I'm 30 now. So I probably would have been about 24, 25. And so that's very young to be told that.
Yeah, of course. And just as well, for people listening, you're saying you were 18, 19 stone, and sometimes that's not obese for some people, depending on their height and stuff like that as well. And that's why I'm asking you your age. But what height are you as well?
5'10" and a half, kind of. That's really, but yeah, 5'10" and a half.
Okay,
not quite 5.
So then now everybody can get a bit more of a picture as well, you know, for those who aren't looking on YouTube, if they're just listening on audio. But what happened then? You joined the gym, you went in.
Well, I didn't immediately. So what I started doing was I just started walking the area. I'd get out in the morning. So before, like, if there was, like, before, say, if I was going to work, or if I was, you know, perhaps in the school to do rugby, I'd get up in the morning and I'd be out the door. I'd be out the door quite early at about 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd have a bottle of water and a little apple, and I'd do sort of a lap in my area. I think it was only really ever 2K or something like that. So that's what I did. I started walking. I started eating sort of better. You know, sort of I was sort of ditching the chocolate and the crisps, and, you know, sort of the more sort of
with the coffee.
Exactly. Yeah.
And did that work for you then?
It started to, yeah. I could definitely feel a change, because, like, I hearing that, I was kind of thinking, wow, you need to change things quick.
Of course.
And like at the same time, you know, that I know he was only obviously looking out for me, but I was kind of, I remember being sat there that night, you know, totally, completely down. But then, you know, having enough to be able to get out of bed in the morning and go, right, let's do something about this.
Like, look, when somebody tells you that something like this about yourself, it's not nice to hear. You're not going to be very enthusiastic about hearing this type of stuff. But at the same time, you know, sometimes you got to be cruel to be kind.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll always appreciate him for saying it to me, because had he not, perhaps maybe I could have had a very bad episode. So I'll always appreciate him for it. So that was really that. And then it was sort of shortly after that where I started joining the gym. Like I remember when you opened up in I think I was there the first day you opened up in J6, and the place was like a building site at the time, and I'm just there trying to run on the treadmill. So that was that. And then, like, I think I had a good solid maybe about 3 weeks of, you know, sort of been able to get there maybe once or twice a week, you know, to start. I thought was quite all right. And then I remember going on holidays I'd go down to Spain, and I'd sort of look at pictures of myself sitting there and going, oh my God, you've got so much work to do. And it's only sort of when you see pictures of yourself and you're thinking, oh Jesus, I don't look well there at all.
Yeah. Photographs are very good for that.
Yeah, exactly. They're very cruel.
Yeah.
So I came back, and sort of I knew that there was work to be done. I was able to get back to the gym, and I think then I was there for maybe about 2 weeks, and then I stopped. I think weather turned, or I might have got busy with work, and I was kind of going on. I'm really tired from work, so I'm not going to go.
In then a lack of motivation, and just on motivation, it's we do always say it. I speak on podcasts about this as well, and people mail constantly, "You have no motivation." It's okay. You're not supposed to be motivated 24/7.
Yeah.
But you need to have a reason why you want to train, and your why, we call it, what's your why? Sometimes it's for physical health because someone told you, a paramedic told you, you could be about to have a heart attack. And sometimes it's mental health as well that people are looking out for, but you have to have that why. And if you don't have a why, it's very easy to become unmotivated. The dark nights come in, it's cold out, it's raining out, I don't want to get off the sofa, I want to watch this football match, I want to watch the rugby match, whatever it may be. But when you do have that why and it starts to really get in your head and you're like, okay, I really need this now. I really have to focus. So no matter how tired you are, how unmotivated you are, after going to the gym and feeling how you feel after the workout, once you know the feeling you do get, it's much easier to go because okay, in an hour, I'm going to feel amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose just to kind of throw in there as well, sort of like when I say that the sort of the weight and sort of mental health issues kind of overlapped, like that goes back as far as when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Sort of going through school, and sort of I was I had been bullied a lot in school, and that didn't make life any easier. I'd be sitting at home feeling sorry for myself and sort of not not really doing much. So I was fairly overweight as a kid, and that just transferred. So
and when you say bullying, do you mean with that means from being overweight, like kids slagging you from being overweight?
Yeah, there was that. There was I growing up, I have still have, I suppose, a condition rather called dyspraxia. It was a learning difficulty. It affected my sort of hand-eye coordination was affected. Sort of how I took in information was affected, and especially through primary school. I didn't really know an awful lot about it. It wasn't very well. It is now. There is a hell of a lot more awareness of the condition now than there was when I was going through primary school. So even teachers didn't really know what the situation was. So in school, to everybody else, I was different, and being called things like stupid and all of that kind of stuff. And it was really. Yeah, it does. Absolutely it does. And it stays to me now. It stays with me now. And I suppose sort of the one thing that I take it from it now, I was one of the things that I never was able to do really was sort of, if I was asked to read something in school, I'd be awful at it. I'd blank. I'd whatever.
Yeah.
But I look now. I'm on the, I'm a broadcaster. That's what I do.
Yes.
I read big long scripts, and I do interviews with sports people. So going from there to sort of where I am now,
some change.
A huge improvement. Some change. Some things do still kind of stick with me. I do sometimes make an arse of myself on a pitch.
But look, everybody is going to make mistakes. And do you think that was down to obviously you're talking about the condition there, but you think confidence had a part to play there as well?
Yeah, big time. Because I didn't going through school. I didn't have sort of many friends. So on a weekend, I wasn't out kicking around a ball with mates or doing what kids do. I wasn't doing that. I was I had joined the St. John's ambulance as a kid, and kind of struggled really a little bit there as well, because I was there with there were other people who I was in school with and who would have been sort of they wouldn't have directly bullied me, but they would have been in a group who, you know, like the kids, you know, when they do nothing about
kids
it,
being
just
kids.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't really find I gained anything, you know, from being. Now I was in John's Ambulance for about 5 years. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved being able to learn a life skill like first aid.
Yeah,
Is,
of
you know,
course.
was a massive thing. Probably the thing I enjoyed most was being able to turn up at Lansdowne Road in my uniform and go in for
Yeah.
nothing. But that was probably the most enjoyable factor, probably why I stuck with it the most. But yeah, like the confidence thing was definitely huge.
Confidence does always, in any type of industry, any age, it always plays a big part, whether you're a kid or an adult. Like you're saying there, you still make mistakes. We all make mistakes doing everything.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was in school, you're talking about now you're a broadcaster, whereas you wouldn't want to be reading
Yeah.
in classroom. I was the same. I wouldn't want to speak out in class. I was very shy, I just had no confidence really. And now I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I'm teaching classes in front of
Yeah.
like 40, 50 people, wherever it may be, speaking on a podcast, wherever. It's just the way it goes. It's all about just getting that confidence and realizing that you can actually do this. It's just if you have the confidence and you believe in yourself, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, like I ended up, like I said, you know, coaching in a school, teaching PE classes, you know, refereeing rugby matches with, you know, like I'm standing in the middle of 30 big burly fellas. Now I was fairly burly myself, but like, you know, like having like I would have the confidence to be able to draw in two players and go, listen, you're taking the mick and you're taking the mick. If there's any more taking the mick, these are both off, kind of way.
Yeah.
But it still in other ways would affect me. You know, sort of like if I was getting to know like a group of new people that I'd never been around before, I'd like you barely hear a word
Yeah,
out of
of
me.
course, yeah.
So yeah, so like I mean, it still hits me like, you know, a lack of sort of self-confidence in myself.
Because you weren't in your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose, you know, if, you know, for an awful lot of other reasons, I wasn't in my comfort zone either. And it's something that I really struggled with was, you know, my sexuality. You know, I came out there about, oh, what was it? It was maybe about 5. It was the day of the marriage referendum.
Oh,
So
very
I think
good.
it was that 5 or 6 years ago now, I think.
Yeah.
But prior to that, like I had really struggled.
And
Big time.
how old were you when you were struggling with this? Is this just all through teenage years or?
Yeah, sort of all through teenage years. I'd had a suspicion, like I was kind of thinking to myself, like there's something not right here. Was sort of the whole teenage year thing,
Yeah.
and you know that I'm kind of like, you know, something's not right, and you know, I
Yeah.
couldn't really sort of pick it out. Now, towards, you know, the latter end of me being in school, you know, I realized, oh, right, that's it. And
You know.
so yeah, so I knew, and you know, that was pretty difficult to deal with, and you know, sort of going through college and whatever. Probably the refereeing the most. Now, I took a huge amount of inspiration from Nigel Owens. Anybody who's in love with rugby will know Nigel. He was the world's first openly gay sports person. So I drew huge amounts of inspiration from him. And, you know, I remember I messaged him one day on Facebook and I thought, right, well, you know, I'm never going to get a response from him, but sure, look, I may as well try.
Yeah.
And to be fair to him, he responded to me. And he gave me this, you know, major piece of advice. And, you know, through work and whatever, I ended up like, there was one Leinster match. I think he was here to referee, and I'd arranged to meet him for an interview afterwards, and he just spoke like he has an incredible book actually for anybody who needs to draw inspiration. He's got a brilliant book.
What's the name of it?
It's called Half Time. So it was sort of everything to his career at that point. And you know, sort of everything from you know, struggling with his sexuality, and you know, being very, very close to ending his own life really as a result of it.
Really?
And yeah, like, I mean, he struggled big time, and there was an awful lot of his story I kind of saw and sort of resonated with me, sort of a little bit myself and how I struggled with it. So that was another area in which I just had no confidence in myself.
See, that's why it's very important, these people with a following and a platform to speak out on these issues, because they just don't know who they're going to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, we understand not everybody wants to speak out and stuff like that, and they don't want to use their platform for personal reasons, but it just goes to show how much you can help somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I suppose I was really just afraid of reactions.
Is that from friends, family, work colleagues?
A bit of, well, yeah, but sort of all of the above. Now, I had told my family, who were incredibly supportive, and this was before I sort of came out generally. So
Brilliant.
that was a major, that was a major hurdle that I was able to jump. And then I remember it came around to, because I had seen like all of the campaigning for that yes vote. And I remember being sent to the airport for work because there was this huge coming home to vote
I remember this.
And I was sent out to the airport to try and get vox pops with people and whatever. And the sheer volume of people coming home to vote shocked me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. And I'm looking around and I'm going, this is not the world that I grew up in.
Yeah.
Because the world that I grew, like I grew up, I went through a Catholic school, like most other people, and where these kind of things were never really discussed. It was never really the done thing to do. But looking around and seeing kids waving pride flags and proud mothers and I was like, Jesus, like this is a new world I'm looking at.
And that's key. You just touched on real quick there, proud mothers and fathers.
Yeah,
because that's very important. And you said you got huge support of your family. It's just so important. And I always hear about people when they come out, the support they get off their family. But that was almost what was stopping them coming out for so long is, won't I get this support?
Yeah, and especially like as a sports reporter, as a sports broadcaster, as a referee, as a coach, although I was able to take the inspiration from Nigel, I still had it in the back of my head as well that I'm coaching a bunch of school kids, and if they ever got word of it and kind of went, oh, I don't really know how I feel, like that I would have had to stop. It probably would have broken me. So anyway, on the day of the vote, I had gone, I had voted. I had seen a friend of mine who had recently come out himself, and I was talking to him about it. I was saying, look, I'm probably going to say, I said, look, today is a day where everybody is in love with this, so there's probably never going to be a better day to do it. So I took full advantage of that. And I remember going home and I had a message ready to put up on my Facebook, and I sat on my laptop just looking at it and thinking, right, this is either going to make you or it's going to break you. And these were the thoughts going through my head, and I'm like,
it's terrible though that you do feel like that. This post completely. I'm going to put on social media is going to make me or break me. Like, social media it's not all real, as we know. So many people put up fake things on their timelines, and they pretend they have this type of life, and they don't. They pretend they're this type of person when they're not. But yet you're so nervous about putting something very important up on social media and worrying whether it's going to make you or break you.
Yeah, exactly.
That in itself says a lot about, I suppose, the world we live in, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you see yourself all the time. Like, so social media can be a pretty toxic place as well. And there are times as a journalist that I hate the fact that I have to have a constant, well, not a presence, but sort of be alert to what's going on.
Of course.
Because I do hate it, because I do see, posts that are just toxic and shouldn't be there, and it's just it's awful. But anyway, so I had the post ready to go, and I was kind of going, should I, shouldn't I? And I had phoned, actually, I had messaged Nigel. He had given me his number, because I'd interviewed him a couple of times up to that point, and I said, listen, I said, I'm sort of teetering on this. I said I could probably do with a little piece of advice right now, and he said, do it. He says he said he was watching Sky News, and they had done their coverage of the referendum here and whatever, and he said, like, just do it, do it for sure. So so before I clicked post, I messaged. There was a group of maybe about 4 or 5 of my friends who had known. I had told them over a session one night, and they were all, incredibly cool with it. Brilliant. And supportive and whatever. So I texted them, and I said, listen, I said, I'm about to put something up on Facebook right now. And it sounded really petty and really sad, but I said, if like, I'd appreciate if you'd just hop onto your Facebooks there and just hit like.
Yeah.
And I think it was only about 5 of them.
You were very nervous, obviously.
And I was shaking, Jer.
Yeah.
I was absolutely shaken. So I put it up anyway, and immediately I closed the lid of the laptop. I said, right, at this point, I actually don't want to know.
I'm coming back tomorrow to check.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the lads that I had texted came back to me and said, and he was only joking about it. He says, "See, they hate you," and I'm going, I really don't want to know what that's in reference to. I said, I don't even want to know. I said, right, I'm gonna delete my Facebook. But I went on anyway, and like straight away there was like 70 odd people had clicked like, and well done, Dan, and all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And it blew me away. And what really hit home with me, and one of the fears was, the coaching.
Yeah.
Now I hadn't like, because obviously these like a post can go wild, like can spread to anywhere. And I had got in the next week to do my coaching, and I had kind of been nervous just in case anybody did see it.
Yeah,
in case it
you
had
never know
trickled that far.
Yeah, because once it's out there, it's out there.
Exactly, yeah. And I was a little bit nervous about it, kind of walking through the corridors and whatever. And I was out on the field, and I was sorting out all the balls and the bibs and the stuff. And the guy who was my captain, Oren, he'd come up to me. I think he would have only been in 3rd year at the time himself. And he came up to me before the session started, and he said, we saw your post. And I went, oh no. I immediately said, Jesus, right, what's coming next? And he says, we've all been in the dressing room there talking, and we want you to know how incredibly proud we are to have you as our coach.
Brilliant.
And I nearly completely broke.
Yeah, of course. It just goes to show what type of people they were as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And at that age as well. Like that's really
exactly. Like that was a really mature thing to say. And that they had all been talking about and going, oh Jesus, fair play to him and all of that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, I am living in a new world. There is acceptance for this.
Yeah.
Which was great. Sort of I was, sort of still able to sort of keep on the coaching and the reffing and the everything else, which was great. Sometimes though, I still do sort of, when it comes to the whole sexuality thing, there sometimes is a kind of a brick wall I kind of meet in terms of not as much acceptance, because I'd already sort of, this is who I am. I'm still the person you've always known. So like I'd already accepted that. But it was the whole sort of living with it. I sort of let myself too much kind of read into, stereotypes is probably the wrong word, but things that I'm not. So I didn't want to become something that I wasn't, and not that people do, But just that there was something in my head triggering that, oh, does this mean now you become another person? And like, obviously it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it still is something, like it's a constant block.
Was that maybe you overthinking it maybe?
Completely
Yeah.
overthinking it. And that's like, it's something I'm most guilty of all of the time, is overthinking stuff.
Dan, I think so many people are. Like, I overthink a lot of things as well. Actually, funny, I was only talking to one of my friends the other day about something, and I actually says to him, I said, I think you're overthinking this. And he was like, no, I definitely am. I always overthink everything. Everybody does, you know, and again, that could be related back to the confidence as well, you know, about totally. whatever it's about, you know, okay, I don't feel confident here. Maybe I'm not making the right decision, you know, and it's hard as well for people to realize that, okay, you're now at the coming out, but you're still the same person.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing. But yeah, you still overthink it. Yeah,
completely. And, you know, that had kind of carried on for now. And as I said, it still does to an extent. But it kind of brings me around to where I had made a decision. There were things going on, things that I was getting really stressed about, not just from a weight kind of point of view, but like I just in general in life, I was down. And I had made a decision. I had seen an ad on your social channels for the Weight Loss Club. And I was kind of thinking that, you know, I had never really gotten involved with classes because of that confidence issue.
Yeah.
It was a huge barrier for me, you know, being able to get into any of the classes and being able to do them. But I had seen it and I was reading through it and I was kind of like, okay, I get my weigh-ins, I get my, you know, the trainer to talk to, and, you know, all of this kind of stuff, and access to the gym, and, you know, all of that, food plans and whatever. And I said, okay, maybe this is absolutely what I need. So I got in contact with the gym anyway, Owen, and Owen put me on the thing and paid for whatever, did my first weigh in, and I was like, okay, right, here's where we start. He says, have you got a goal? Owen, he says, for what you want to achieve. I said, absolutely not. Well, I said, I want to be less than I am.
Yeah.
I said, I don't.
You want to.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a specific end goal.
Yeah.
I just want to lose weight, and I want to feel good about myself. And he says, okay, that's perfect. That's as much of a goal as anything.
Yeah.
So went and did it, and you know, like everything when you start things, you know, you start slow, and, you know, you kind of, it takes you a while to get into the rhythm of it. And so, like, I was given my first food plan, and I'm kind of looking at it going, right, yeah. And I kind of going, all right, so no crisps, no chocolate, no, you know, so, sort of all this sort of stuff. So it's like, okay, so replace crisps with like nuts, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So I you know, I started, like, it was slow, but I was slowly doing it.
And
like, I remember,
just on that, I think that's probably why you stuck to it, especially this time around, because you just took your time. So many people join gyms and they're like, okay, this is it. It's Monday. I'm in the gym. I'm going to go straight for this. And okay, that works for maybe 1 in 100 people. You know, they lose motivation then after 2 or 3 weeks. And all of a sudden it's back to square one. But if you start off slow and take it step by step, take it day by day, like that Weight Loss Club, for example, I know that's 12-week program, but we always say to people, don't focus on the 12 weeks, focus on week 1.
Yeah.
Because you're coming back here next week, we're going to weigh you again, and we're going to see how you get on. And you have a 1-week fill plan. We don't give you the 12 weeks. And the reason we don't give the 12 weeks straight away is because we just want you to focus on the 1 week. And obviously at the end of the conversation, we always say, although we're saying 1 week, take it day by day.
Yeah.
But you were expecting,
and yeah,
crisps.
And like like some of the things, like the turkey rashes and the turkey sausages and the turkey burgers. And I was going into Gleason's, and I'm taking all of this stuff, and I have an arm full of burgers and sausages and bacon or whatever.
That was actually me yesterday in Gleason's. I was up there yesterday, and I was like, walking out with
it took me, and actually, like, Gleason's, like, especially for the burgers, Gleason's were great, because, like, it will come in a sort of in a light kind of there was like a Jack Daniels, or there was a light like sort of barbecue
Jack
or
Daniels
spicy
sauce
kind of thing.
on the burgers.
And just to give it that little bit of because like turkey meat it's a bit tasteless at the best of times.
And I'm glad you're saying that as well, because and by the way, the Jack Daniels flavor on the turkey burgers, I actually had 2 of them last night, Dan. I swear to God, I had 2 of them last night. They're my favorite burgers out of the whole place.
And I still get them. They're brilliant.
But this is the thing. A lot of people say, am I allowed sauce on my burgers? If I have a chicken stir fry, am I allowed any sauce?
Yeah.
And look, the reason they're saying this is because so many trainers will say, well, no, sauce is full of sugars and all this type of stuff, and you shouldn't eat sauce. Everything should be just plain and bland. But let's be realistic about it. That is not a realistic nutrition plan. You are not going to stick to that.
Yeah.
Jerry, if I have an omelette,
am I allowed to love your food?
Yeah, of course, and enjoy it. Jerry, if I have an omelette, because omelets are on food plans as well that we have, am I allowed to have a little bit of ketchup on the side? If I say, yeah, a little bit, chances are they will eat that omelette more often than not. If I say no, it's another stumbling block for them. Obviously, ketchup isn't the healthiest thing in the world, but if it helps them eat the omelette, and the omelette is what I need them to actually eat, and you're going from eating crisps and chocolate and takeaways all the time to having an omelette with a bit of ketchup, it's not the end of the world. And you're going from having, again, the crisps, the chocolate, the takeaways, to having a turkey burger with a little bit of sauce on it.
Yeah, because I remember as well the week I started doing the weight loss club, work brought in a vending machine. I'm like, no, lads, stop. And I just and everybody was going, oh, everybody's putting in their coins, and I go, no. So what I ended up doing was I stopped bringing coin with me to work.
Oh my God.
So if I didn't have the coin in my pocket, I couldn't get the crisps, or I couldn't get the Coke or the whatever. So that was my sort of way, sort of dealing around that. But
it's a good tip for people.
Absolutely. And like I remember the first way in, sort of the first after week 1, I gone up, and like Maria was absolutely phenomenal through the entire thing. And I gone up, and I think I was only down like half a pound, and I remember looking at the thing going, I like thinking, Jesus, like I've broken my arse this week now. I said, like that's a bit surprising. But then week after week, I was kind of pushing myself that little bit harder in the gym. That little bit extra sort of intensity. I was doing, sort of extra stuff in the hall that you used to have in J6, sort of extra running and stuff like that. And sort of when I was coming back then the next week I'd lost about 3 pounds, and I was like, oh, there's an improvement. So I was like, right, in my head, I'm like, okay, right, this is working. Because
that's a good thing as well, because you say the first week, say it wasn't amazing results in your mind, you weren't overly happy about it. But a lot of people, when it comes to weight, that's why we don't just weigh people. We do the measurements as well, because sometimes, especially with girls as well in particular, they could be up weight for certain reasons in a particular week of the month, obviously. And then you don't want them feeling down about themselves. You want to be able to do the measurements, so you're getting the full analyst really, and you're going to let them see it's not just about the scales, because sometimes the scales doesn't tell the true story. But on the other side of it, if you aren't pushing yourself in the gym and you aren't sticking to the full plan the best you could, and then the results aren't great, well then you're like, okay, that's maybe a bit of a kick up the backside I needed. I'm going to get stuck in now. And then when you do get stuck in week 2, like you did, all of a sudden look at the results then.
And I found that the measurements was a huge part in it, because as you said, the weighing scales don't always tell the story, but it was like, so it was seen that, okay, I was down whatever it was 3 pounds, but like, there was also something coming off my legs, there was also something coming off my my sort of upper chest, and I was kind of going, okay, well, do you know what, like maybe it's not just the scales isn't lying. So this is, so I pushed and I pushed. I remember week 4 or 5, I remember coming back and I'd lost 9 pounds in a week.
I remember that, because I was actually checking the results every single week, and I was looking and I was like, oh my God, 9 pounds.
And
I actually messaged it. I was like, that's fantastic.
I looked at Maria, like when I because obviously she's taken the before and now each week, and she's told me, she says, you're down 9 pounds. I'm like, no, I'm not. Would you shut up? Like, you know. So like, and that was like that. It was at that point I was like, right, I can't let this go. This is like 100%. I can't let this go. So I kept on the full 12 weeks, and I was probably averaging about 3 days a week in the gym. Average. I'm probably sometimes doing a little bit more. And by the end of the 12 weeks, I had lost 5 stone.
Brilliant. I was waiting for you to say that figure there, because so many people are listening thinking, get to it. What has he lost? What has he lost? 12 weeks. Come on.
It keeps people ticking. It's that
exactly.
broadcast training.
Exactly. But that was like, so 12 weeks, 5 stone.
Yeah. I actually couldn't believe, like, because when she was adding it up, so the previous losses from the previous weeks and stuff, and like she was going through it. I think she had to actually calculate it twice just to make sure that she had got it right. And I was dumbfounded by it. So like, obviously I knew, okay, there was one particular point I knew I was down a stone, and I thought, wow, that's deadly. Like that, I couldn't have actually anticipated being down a stone, let alone 5.
Yeah.
And
everybody could see it. Like, everybody could see the difference in you coming in every single week. And I actually remember my mom was doing that club as well with you, and she was always, oh my God, that guy Dan, he's doing brilliant, you know. And she rang me. I think it was on a Saturday. She was at the going in, and she rang me because I wasn't there that day, and she was like, I was talking to Dan, and he's had to lose like 9 pounds, or I think it was that actual particular week. And she was like, it's fantastic. And I'm like, I know he's doing really good. And she's like, no, saying to me, keep it up. And she was almost like becoming your fan. And I wouldn't mind, Dan. I was actually talking to my mom a couple of hours ago, and I told her I was doing a podcast, and she's like, oh, who have you got on this week? And I was like, it's actually Dan. Remember Dan from Junction 6? She's like, the guy lost all the weight. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh my God, I can't wait to hear that. She was actually saying, she's like, can't wait to hear that. He's a lovely fella. I was like, I know. I'm actually looking forward to hearing it myself. So she's a fan.
And yeah, well, good. That's great to know. Thank you. And you know, as time kind of went on in the gym, I was finding that I was actually, that it wasn't just that I was coming to the gym. I was coming to the gym with a smile on my face. I was chatting to the other trainers, which I wasn't really doing much of. But, you know, I was kind of going around. I was, you know, how's it going? And, you know, a bit of chat. And I was enjoying it. I was enjoying going to the gym, where before, you know, going to the gym, like my mindset of going to the gym was tedious. It was like, it was a chore. But then it started becoming enjoyable. Which was really the important bit. And actually, I remember there was one particular night, and it was a horrible, fucking horrible night outside weather-wise. And I had gone in, and I had done, like I always did, a little bit of a warm-up on the treadmill before I went in and did the class with Maria. And I'd gone in and done the class, and I was, what was it? There was walkouts or something I was doing, or there was a plank. And when I stood up, I kind of felt a little bit dizzy. And I was kind of thinking, oh, Jesus, what's that? I said, okay, just stand up and just breathe there for a minute. You probably just held your breath in a little bit too long or whatever. Yeah. And I was I kind of walked around the hall a little bit and just tried to get my bearings back about myself, and wasn't quite feeling it. And I was like, okay, well, just sort of breathe. You'll go on to the next thing, and you'll be fine in a minute. There was a big gigantic fan, and I think I stood in front of the fan for a while, and I was like, okay, that'll do. But Jesus, it didn't. And like I felt, I don't know what had come over me, whether it was maybe like I felt well, but I felt like I was going to pass out like that. And I think I'd really freaked Maria out. She was looking at me going, Dan, stop. I'm like, no, I'm fine. No, stop. And I remember being stood out at the door, and like they gotten me a bottle of Lucozade and stuff like that. Like they acted really fast about it. And I remember going home thinking, oh, that can't be it. That can't be it. Because in my mind, like that it would trigger like a fear in that, like if I go back, is the same thing going to happen?
Yeah.
And there in my head going, oh Jesus, like I've made so much progress, and I'm like, I can't let my head go, no Dan, you can't go back to the gym, or things going to repeat
because
itself.
sometimes like that happens in gyms. Obviously I've seen it over the years, and sometimes people, it happens to them basically because they probably had no food that day, or they didn't have enough food. There's no sugars in their body, whatever it may be, and they just get lightheaded and they've no energy, and they just kind of, the body is shutting down. And people don't realize that that's fine, that's normal, that happens to a lot of people. All you have to do is make sure you eat something before, like that's why the lads gave you the Lucozade. I think Darren probably gave you the Lucozade that day, and he's making sure that just to kind of get that sugar back into your system, just to give you that little bit of a quick fix type of thing, you know. But it's very important that people realize if these things happen, okay, you need to make sure it doesn't happen again. And here's how you make sure it doesn't happen again. It's making sure, like Dan, you're now training, you're now really pushing your body harder than you've ever done before, but you're maybe not eating enough. And that happens a lot when people are on a weight loss journey. Although you're given a food plan and you know you can eat all these different types of food and different meals during the day, sometimes people still, okay, but I'll skip this meal, maybe this will help, not knowing that it'll probably do more damage.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, I found myself going, okay, right, no, just Fecka, you're going back to the gym, you'll be fine. Just, you know, just don't overdo it. Was what I was kind of thinking. And so like the 5 stone, and it was brilliant. And like I remember as well, it was the club had finished, I think, what was it? I think it was about a week before Christmas. This was 2019 leading into 20. And I was thinking, oh no, Christmas. And I'm thinking of the boxes of sweets and the selection boxes, and I'm going, no, Jesus, no. Because I was fitting into new clothes, and I was going, Jesus, like I can't go backwards. And then obviously into the new year then, and I think there was going to be a new club before the pandemic started. And I said, okay, I'll do the club again, because I knew that worked, and I still had more weight that I wanted to lose. So I said, right, I'll sign up to it. I'll go back in the gym in the new year. I'll start that, and I'll wait until the club starts again. And then obviously the pandemic hit. And you know, and nobody really knew what this pandemic was, and you know, people were unsure. Do I close? Do I not close? Do I stay open? Like what do I do? And then when it came to the point where everybody was told to close, I was thinking, oh Jesus, when am I gonna when are we all gonna get back to this? Because I think
that question.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, at first I'll never forget because I was working as well, I'll never forget the speech Leo made, where he said, oh, we're going to shut down for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And here we are a year later. And we still don't know. So like the pandemic has hit me for 6. Like I think to start, like during the first lockdown, I was doing okay with things like walking. I was probably going on about 3 or 4 walks a day, because there was nothing else to do. And at that point you could only go, like we were all moaning about going 5 kilometers. You could only go 2 kilometers from your home in the first lockdown. So like there was nothing else I could do other than walk. And sort of I was sort of doing okay with that. And then all of these things like Zoom parties and Zoom quizzes and Zoom everything else came in. And so on my way back from a walk, I'd take a trip into the off license. And I'd go, right, I'll have these please. And like
get ready for my Zoom party.
Exactly, yeah. And that was my sort of excuse to maybe get a Chinese or you know, something that night as well, just to have. And that became a regular thing then. And I'm kind of thinking, oh Jesus, you are undoing so much work. And it was like, I need to stop, because like I knew, okay, there is going to be a time where the gym is going to open again. But like you're after undo. Now I was still going on my walks and stuff, but my walk would always finish with going into the shop and getting something for the Zoom. Because there was literally nothing else to do.
Is that, like, obviously everybody is different, but is it because you had nobody to hold you accountable?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I was only really answerable to myself. For the first lockdown, especially, I was working from home. So like I was going, like between my bed, which is over there, to here, which is my desk, to work, and then like I'd be finishing and going back over there then in a couple of hours. So like it was there wasn't really sort of much to it. And I was extremely guilty for not holding myself to account. I was letting the pandemic be an excuse for
You're
going,
the only one,
sure,
Dan.
we're in lockdown. We're in lockdown. Look, what's another can of Bulmers, or what's another can of whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot is the
Yeah.
answer to that.
Look, so many people. Look, the amount of mails over the last year, like what's it, 14 months now or something, but the amount of mails, and it kind of went through phases. Now everybody is kind of just sick of everything now. They just want to get back to normality as we know it. But at the start, people were like, okay, well, look, it's only 2 weeks. I'm going to just drink every night and that's it. I have 2 weeks off work, whatever it may be. And then it led into like, okay, now it's 4 weeks, now it's 6 weeks or whatever. And that's the thing. No one, when it comes to fitness, people didn't have anybody to hold them accountable. But a lot of people then started to just fall into this, I suppose, like a lazy trap. And they're just, okay, using the pandemic now as an excuse, as you said, not to do anything.
Yeah.
And then by the time the gyms reopened, because we closed in the middle of March, I think we closed on the 15th of March last year, and we reopened on the 29th of June. And by the time that came around, you were hearing the same story every single day. Oh, it just lockdown got to me. I ate too much. I this, I that. And I'm like, but obviously I knew this from talking to people in the meantime through social media. It was a really bad time for people because they got into those lazy habits.
Yeah, completely. And when the restrictions eventually did lift, and you were able to do things like household visits and go into town and go various places, like that's when, like, because I wouldn't do, even though he only lived around the corner from me, like my best mate Connor, I didn't see a huge amount of him during the first sort of section of it. But then did, obviously, then when restrictions lifted, and whatever, we were able to go on sort of longer walks. So we'd go walking down the canal as far as Ashtown and back. We'd go on cycles down to the Phoenix Park. All of that kind of stuff. And I remember there was one night, he's the mate that encouraged me to join Corduff. And there was one night in particular, we'd come back from a training session. We were both starving, and we said, right, this will be my cheat meal now for the week. So between us, we got a pizza between us. And of course, when you order a pizza from Domino's, you got to have the cook. Well, no, you don't got to have the cookies, but I said that I have to have the cookies. And I asked him, I said, do you want to go in on the cookies? He says, yeah, he wasn't mad on the cookies. So I go and eat all the, and he kicked my head in for it. Now, not literally, but verbally he did. Yeah. And sort of that was the thing that I was missing during lockdown, was that, no, stop. Yeah, like you've worked far too hard.
Yeah.
And like, I was kind of looking at him going, shut up. But like, instead, at the same time, still appreciated him for it. I had a voice to tell me, you need to stop, because you're undoing a lot of your hard work. And like, I was so appreciative of that, to have that sort of back in my life again, that sort of a voice to tell me, no, this isn't right.
And a lot of people don't want to say it to friends or family, like, look, you're after doing all this, you're going to undo all your hard work. Sometimes they just say nothing, not realizing that the person might actually want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. And it was the thing that I needed to hear. Sort of he became, like, sort of through especially during this particular lockdown, he's in terms of social contacts, it's been myself and himself, and sort of, I think we've I'd hope anyway, that we've kept ourselves sort of strong-ish. I kind of feel like the last month or so, I've kind of felt in a real sort of lull and down because of what I'm doing. You're hearing all of the speculation about when things might open. You're hearing all of the nonsense about how they're dealing with the vaccinations, and you're thinking, Jesus, it'll be next year by the time I get a jab in my arm. And sort of you're hearing all of the bad news, and you're having to report on all of the bad news, and that gets to you.
Of course, that's going to play in your mind.
It really, really started to get me down, and I've probably been down now for probably the last 2 months or so, and sort of, like I'm there going like, afraid of having an impact on sort of letting my sort of mental health, sort of have an impact on anybody, and I'm sort of wary of that, and sort of who I talk to about what, and kind of like it's big because I haven't had any other social contacts within this last couple of months. Sort of that's been a huge problem for me. Like this lifting can't come soon enough.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And Dan, you're certainly not the only one feeling like that over the last couple of months, because I think the whole country is, to be honest with you. Like, and obviously we're looking at other countries and they're kind of getting on with their life. I think it was Australia, they had like a stadium full of people over the weekend at some sporting event, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what that feels like anymore. And especially yourself reporting on these sporting events.
Yeah, because like I'd be going to game, and like, I'm in a very fortunate position where I can go to these games, and I count my blessings, because I love going to sporting events. But I'd be sitting there going, like, you're looking around because there's nobody there. You're looking around at this empty stadium going, actually, this isn't really that enjoyable. And I know like there's like Leinster Rugby are working on, sort of antigen testing at the minute. So hopefully that works out for them. And hopefully we're not too far away from this projection of when we're all going to have our first jab.
And that's the thing. And especially you're in the stadium, and okay, people are sitting at home and they're realizing, okay, I can't get to see me friends, me family, whatever. And now you're even getting to a stadium and the stadium is empty, and you're remembering what it used to look like. Now you're seeing what it is right now. And and that can kind of get you down, realizing this should be a packed out crowd here. This stadium should be buzzing now, and now it's empty, and it kind of lets you see, oh yeah, we are still here. We are still in lockdown. There is still a pandemic. It is still very depressing here to even realize that we're still here 14 months later. But it's very important to always try and look at the positive sides of it and realize, okay, well, it's not last year anymore. We do have the vaccinations. And I know, look, there's a lot of controversy going on about it, but we need to obviously think of the positives, because as we always say, there's brighter days ahead, but there genuinely is, and that's very important to get that message out there to people, that there is brighter days ahead. The jab in the arm is coming, as you had said, so it is only going to get better. No matter, and the weather is getting better. It's warmer. It's coming into the summer. There's so many good things to look forward to. So it's just very, very important that yourself and me and everybody realizes this, that look, it's frustrating. Businesses have been closed. Like, I haven't seen my family, my friends. But okay, it's okay. I know when we do get it, we're going to celebrate. And that's what you got to look forward to.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And like, even like the last couple of nights, every night this week, I've been up in the driving range up in Elm Green. And it's such a relief to be able to do things like that again. Like I would never have gone sort of up there as much as I kind of have done this week. But I'm standing there and I'm hitting 100 balls. I'm going, Jesus, isn't this great? But so hopefully, like, the better times are coming. They really are.
And what I've been saying to people as well about the better times coming, and those little better days that we have had over the last few months, I suppose over the last 14 months, every time a lockdown was lifted, so many people are like, okay, now I get to see my best mate that I haven't seen in so long. And they have more drinks than they normally would. They'd have more takeaways. They'd be having more biscuits. They're almost celebrating with every little milestone. And it's important to celebrate these things. Like I said to you, when I get to see all my family and all my friends, I am going to celebrate, and we're all going to celebrate good. You've got to be careful not to be doing it every single day if you're on, let's say, your weight loss journey. And that's not going to be, if you keep, okay, I can see everybody now, but now I'm pulling on the weight because I'm out eating all the time and I'm drinking all the time and I'm doing this. That can obviously have an impact on you physically, but obviously mentally as well. So we got to kind of find a balance. And that's what's going to be very hard for people to do when we do start reopening up. You just have to find that balance. But it's very important to realize that those days are coming.
Yeah, 100%. And like, you know, there will be like, it's going to be natural that there's going to be trepidation that people will have about coming to you know, a gym, given that there's been 4 months of being told no, you can't do. So like, people are going to have it in their head like this. It's the kind of the mentality that people have been left with. So there will be sort of like, you know, because I think I felt it the last was on the approach to Christmas. I remember the first day going and kind of, you know, for 5 minutes I thought, is this the right thing to do? And then I just kind of went, yeah, of course it is. And I went with it and I was able to do it. So like, you will for people, and especially maybe people going to the gym for the first time, you know, they'll turn up and you will think, is this the right thing to do? Because of obviously what we've gone through. And that is just going to be there for a lot of people.
Yeah. Look, we'll get there though. The days are going to get better, and we will get back to normality. It's not too far away. But come here, I won't keep you much longer. I just wanted to ask you as well, when you are dealing with these mental health issues and when you are on your weight loss journey, was there anything that kind of got you to go on the days you didn't feel mentally good? Was there anything that you were able to say to yourself, or anything that just made you go to the gym or get out on that walk, whatever it may be?
I think, well, when I was doing the weight loss club, like, because there would have been days where I went, will I go tonight? But I think it was knowing the progress that I had been making along that time and going, you know, you're working hard, you're seeing the results. It's not like you're going to go and have no results. So I found myself in a situation where I just put my gear in my bag and I just go. Whether it was a horrible day, a nice day, or whatever day it was, I just go. And you know, it's like when you have it, it's like ripping off a plaster.
Yeah.
And you know, you don't want to do it because you know it'll hurt, but you just have to do it anyway.
Yeah, and you know, you're fine. And that's the thing. I actually spoke about this in one of the podcasts. I think it was last week or the week before, about not being in the mood to go to the gym, but then when you do go, obviously you know that feeling you're going to get because of that kind of euphoric feeling. You never regret a workout, as we say, because you always just feel amazing after it. But it's those people that have never been to the gym before and they don't realize the feeling they're going to have in 1 hour, even in 30 minutes. Do a 30-minute workout. You're going to have an amazing mindset after these 30 to 60 minutes.
And the one thing that always helped me, by the way, with going to the gym, and it was always printed up, I can't remember whether it was in the hall or was in the main part of the gym, but it was there was a quote, never miss a Monday. And I never missed a Monday when I was doing my weight, and that was the thing that I think that was the thing that got me probably the most, was never miss a Monday.
Because it just kind of set you up for the whole week.
Oh, it does. So I put it in my phone, because I work. I would have worked a Sunday, sort of like a long Sunday shift, and I'd finish up at about 7 or 8 o'clock and work on a Sunday evening, and like that's like that. Like, I don't have my weekend, so like obviously the next day you're going to be like, oh, effort. But it was always in my phone. I had it always. It would come up as an alert. Never miss a Monday, and that was my thing. Right, off I go.
Brilliant. And tell me, so obviously, how are you now dealing with the likes of, okay, I'm at having a year now without the weight loss club or without the gyms in general? Do you have a target for yourself now for when the gyms reopen, or just even before the gyms open? Do you have a little target for yourself?
Yeah, 100%. Because look, you know, as you said, it's been a really tough last couple of months. Because it's been probably the hardest lockdown of all of them to face into. So I have, you know, sort of let myself go a little bit. And again, it goes back to that. I didn't have the, you know, I wasn't being held accountable for, you know, what I was eating. So, you know, I have put on a little bit of weight. I'm starting to notice a little bit, not too much, but a little bit in my clothes. I'm kind of like, oh, all right, okay. Panic station's not yet, but look, don't get too carried away. So that, like, I will have targets when I get back, for sure. I deliberately, over the last couple of months, I haven't stepped on a weighing scale, because I knew, because I was getting carried away with myself, because I was shite eating. I knew that it was going to give me a bad result, so I didn't bother stepping up on the scales, because I knew I wouldn't like what I saw. So that's the thing now. Whenever it is, hopefully May or June, whenever the hell it's going to be, to get there, and to not to start again, but to set myself a new goal. And set it at sort of a low enough bar, because it's been 4 months. Set a low enough bar, maybe 3 or 4 pounds. Maybe that might be a little bit too high, I don't know. But if I can reach that, that'll be my incentive to keep going again. So
well, you will reach it and we will set a target. Well, you'll set a target for yourself, long term, medium term, short term as well. But I'm obviously going to make sure that you do stick to it. I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm actually going to hold you accountable starting now, Dan. You're saying when the gym's open, and your last couple of months haven't been great, but you're not on your own. So many people are in the same situation as you, and they feel the same. So I'm now telling you that I'm going to make it my business to hold you accountable, and you'll be getting a text off me tomorrow, and I'm going to make sure that you are looking after yourself physically, mentally, and we are going to keep going. And even if it's getting out for a walk, and we are allowed to have treats, we are allowed to have takeaways. It's all about balance. You don't have to train every single day. You don't have to eat healthy every single minute of every single day. It's all about balance. I love me takeaways. You talked about cookies from Domino's. I was going to put in there, and I said I won't. I love cookies from Domino's. And I'm like, you're talking about sharing a pizza. Like, I eat healthy like all the time. And then when it comes to the weekend and I want a pizza, I wouldn't be sharing that pizza with anybody, because this is my cheat meal now. Like,
Yeah.
and my girls, they'll be like, give me some of that, and I'm like, oh, I'll get you one as well. This is mine. Hiding the cookies from them. No, but like, look, it's all about balance. You're talking about finding the balance in your life. You're at the achieving amazing things in your life, Dan. You're at from having no confidence to being able to come out about your sexuality. That's a big confidence boost for you. It was when you did come out, and obviously you were very nervous about it, but you're at the going through all that. Then you're obviously suffering, you were with mental health, and you went and joined the gym, and you had 5 stone, a weight loss of 5 stone in 12 weeks. That's fantastic. And I know we can do what we can do in the gym, but it's all down to you. You're the one that decides to get up and go. You're the one that decides to eat healthy. You make these choices for yourself. You've achieved so much, and it would be strange if you, because everyone else out there, weren't feeling down at any stage in the last 14 months. Like, I'm a very positive person all the time. I really am.
Yeah.
And I very rarely would kind of let anything get to me or get down about something. But obviously there was a stage during this lockdown where I'm like, I've had enough of this. And everybody's asking me, when's the gym open? I'm like, I don't fucking know when the gym is open, and no one's telling me. The government don't know what's going on. So how are we supposed to know what's going on? But you have to just be like, okay, assess things and be like, let's be positive about it, but realistic as well. It is what it is. I want to have a drink. I want to have a takeaway. Yeah, so it's lockdown. I'm going to do it. But I'm also going to get up and train. Like, there was a stage where I was training during lockdown to solely be able to have that takeaway the weekend, or instead of one, because I'd probably have one thing a week, I was having like maybe 2 or 3 things. But I'm like, okay, I'll just train harder. So I'll push myself harder within this hour, because I'm not going to feel bad if I have that bit of chocolate later, or the chipper later, or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? And you have to be realistic about it. I'm not going to be too hard on myself. And that's what I'm trying to say to you and everybody else out there listening to this. Don't be too hard on yourself. This is a lockdown. What do we expect? We're going to be feeling this. We're going to see it physically. You're talking about not getting on the scales because you don't want to see what it says. Sure, I'm the same. Everybody's the same. We're all the same here. We don't want to see that scales, but I don't care. Wherever it is, it's a new target for me. It's a new target for you. And it's okay. Let's go and do this. Now we have a purpose. Now we have something to look forward to. Gyms are opening, or even if it's not, the Phoenix Park is there for you. That's close. Let's just go and do it. We have a target. Let's go and do it. But I'm holding you accountable now. That's my promise to you.
Absolutely.
Good man. But
Starts
listen,
tomorrow.
sure does. I'm going to text you in 5 minutes. Go and enjoy your takeaway. No, but listen, Dan, I do really appreciate it. Your story is fantastic. You're talking about all these fantastic things you've done in your life. And it's not just about weight loss. It's about building that confidence. You're coaching all these kids. And I was delighted to hear you say repeat what that kid said to you as well the week after you had came out. That's fantastic. It's such an amazing kid, and obviously the group of players, because he was speaking on behalf of the players, as you said. Fantastic. I love hearing stuff like that, and that kind of goes to show what type of world we live in as well now as well.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Like we wouldn't have got that response maybe 20 years ago off this bunch of kids, but now you do. It's fantastic. And I know we were talking earlier on as well about how social media can be toxic. It can go both ways. It can be toxic. It can be very good in some ways as well,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Listen, congratulations on all you're at the achievement. That's fantastic. I didn't know all of that. I'm delighted to hear. I'm delighted to hear you telling your story, and I know so many people are going to get inspiration from all of those different topics you're at the discussing. So I really, really thank you very much for coming on and telling your story.
No problem at all, Ger. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Dan. We are going to get you back on as a follow-up to when we open up as well, and how you're getting.
That's it.
At the end of the year. Good man, Dan. Thank you very much. Okay.
No worries, Jared. Thanks a
million.
million.
The rest of your evening. Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, so there you have it. That was Dan telling his story. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I just want to thank Dan for coming on, and also everybody for tuning in and listening every single week. I really do appreciate all the support. Remember, if you are enjoying them, please share on social media, tell all your friends and family, and help us spread the word. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care.